Life doesn't slow down when you're tired. It doesn't soften itself when you're overwhelmed. And it doesn't wait until you feel ready. Problems arrive without warning. Pressure builds quietly. Expectations pile up. And at some point, almost everyone reaches a moment where they ask the same question, sometimes out loud, sometimes in silence. Why is it so hard to feel okay, even when nothing seems terribly wrong? Most people think unhappiness comes from circumstances, from bad luck, from difficult people, from stress, money, relationships, or the weight of responsibility. And while those things can hurt, they are not the real reason happiness disappears. The real reason is simpler and harder to accept. We lose happiness not because life is hard, but because our minds are untrained. An untrained mind reacts to everything. It assumes the worst. It replays the past. It worries about the future. It turns small problems into permanent suffering. And when your mind runs without discipline, it doesn't matter how good your life looks from the outside. Inside, you feel restless, irritated, tired, disconnected, always one bad moment away from losing your balance. This audiobook is not about pretending life is easy. It's not about forcing positivity. And it's not about chasing happiness like a temporary mood. This is about learning how to control your mind, so that even when life is hard, your inner world remains stable. Because here is a truth most people never learn. Happiness is not a reward for a perfect life. It is a byproduct of self-mastery. When your mind is calm, life loses its power over you. When your thoughts are disciplined, emotions stop controlling your behavior. When you stop reacting blindly, peace becomes possible, even in chaos. Most people live at the mercy of their thoughts. They believe everything their mind tells them. They identify with every emotion they feel. They react before they think, and then wonder why life feels so heavy. But you don't have to live that way. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. And you're not the story your mind keeps repeating when things go wrong. You're the one who notices them, and that realization, quiet, simple, and powerful, is where control begins. In this audiobook, you're not going to learn how to escape pain. You're going to learn how to stop adding suffering to pain. Pain is part of being alive. Suffering is what happens when the mind resists reality, argues with what is, and refuses to let go. A calm mind doesn't mean an empty mind. It means a mind that no longer panics at discomfort, a mind that no longer collapses when things don't go as planned, a mind that stays grounded when emotions rise. That is the kind of happiness we are building here. Not excitement, not constant pleasure, but inner stability. The kind of happiness that doesn't disappear when life gets difficult. The kind that stays with you when plans fall apart, when people disappoint you, when uncertainty shows up uninvited. Most people wait for life to change before they allow themselves to feel okay. They say, once this is over, I'll be happy. Once things calm down, I'll relax. Once I fix this problem, I'll feel better. But life always brings the next challenge. So if your happiness depends on external conditions, you will always feel one step behind peace. The people who stay calm in hard times are not lucky. They are trained. They have learned how to pause instead of react, how to observe thoughts instead of obey them, how to accept reality instead of fighting it, how to focus on what they can control and release what they can't. That is mental strength. And mental strength is not something you are born with. It is something you build, deliberately, patiently, and daily. Over the next 60 minutes, we will walk through 8 essential principles that teach you how to take your power back from your mind. You will learn why most unhappiness is self-created and how to stop doing it. You will learn how to separate yourself from your thoughts, how to regulate emotions without suppressing them, how to accept life without giving up, how to detach from what drains you, and how to build an inner foundation that stays solid when everything else feels unstable. This is not theory. This is not motivation. This is mental training. Training that teaches you how to stay happy, not because life is easy, but because you are no longer controlled by every internal reaction. You don't need to change who you are. You don't need to fix your entire life. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become someone who can stay calm when things are uncomfortable, clear when things are confusing, and grounded when emotions try to take over. Because when you control your mind, you stop begging life for peace. You carry it with you, and that changes everything. Life may still be hard, but it no longer owns you. Take a breath, let go of the noise, and begin. Chapter 1. Why you're unhappy isn't life. It's your untrained mind. Life has never promised to be easy. Difficulty, pressure, disappointment, and uncertainty are not mistakes in the system. They are part of the design. Every human life, no matter how successful or comfortable it looks from the outside, carries its own weight. Yet here is the mistake most people make. They assume that because life is hard, unhappiness is inevitable. It isn't. What actually steals happiness is not life itself, but a mind that has never been trained to deal with life clearly. An untrained mind reacts automatically. It panics when things go wrong. It clings when things feel uncertain. It magnifies problems and turns temporary discomfort into ongoing suffering. And because these reactions happen so quickly, most people never realize that their unhappiness is being created internally. They blame circumstances instead. They blame work, relationships, finances, other people, or bad luck. And while these things can cause pain, they are rarely the true source of lasting unhappiness. The deeper problem is how the mind interprets and responds to what happens. Pain is unavoidable. Suffering is not. Pain is what you feel when something difficult occurs. Suffering is what happens when your mind refuses to let that pain pass. It replays it, analyzes it, and attaches meaning to it until the moment grows larger than it ever needed to be. You feel pain when you fail. You suffer when your mind tells you that failure defines you. You feel pain when someone disappoints you. You suffer when your mind turns that disappointment into a story about rejection or worthlessness. You feel pain when the future feels uncertain. You suffer when your mind imagines every possible negative outcome and forces you to live through them in advance. An untrained mind does not distinguish between what is happening now and what might happen later. It treats imagination as reality. It treats fear as fact, and it reacts accordingly. This is why so many people feel exhausted, even when their lives are relatively stable. Their bodies may be resting, but their minds are constantly fighting battles that do not exist. Thoughts race, emotions spike, tension builds, and peace feels distant, not because life is attacking them, but because their inner world is out of control. Most people trust every thought they have. They assume that if a thought appears, it must be important. If it feels intense, it must be true. If it creates anxiety, it must be a warning. But thoughts are not wisdom, they are habits. Your mind has been shaped by years of conditioning, by fear, comparison, past experiences, and the constant need to feel safe. Without training, it defaults to negativity because negativity feels protective. It scans for danger, prepares for the worst, and keeps you on edge, believing that vigilance equals safety. Over time, that vigilance becomes a prison. A mind that never rests becomes aggressive. It criticizes you, it doubts you, it pulls you out of the present moment and traps you in mental loops that lead nowhere. And in a mind like that, happiness cannot survive. This is why changing external circumstances rarely solves the problem. People believe that happiness will come once something improves, once they earn more, find the right relationship, solve a problem, or reach a milestone. Sometimes those changes bring temporary relief, But the same restless, reactive mind eventually finds something new to worry about. Different setting, same inner chaos. This is not a reason for discouragement. It is a reason for responsibility. The moment you understand that your mind plays the central role in your happiness, you regain power. You stop waiting for life to be different and start learning how to respond differently. Mental training is not about suppressing emotions or forcing positivity. It is not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It is about learning how to pause instead of react. Reaction is automatic. It is fast, emotional, and unexamined. Response is intentional. It is calm, aware, and controlled. When something goes wrong, the untrained mind immediately spirals. It asks why this always happens. It predicts failure. It convinces you that you cannot handle what is in front of you. A trained mind pauses. In that pause, something powerful happens. You notice the thought without believing it. You feel the emotion without being ruled by it. You create space between what happens and how you respond. That space is control. You do not need to eliminate thoughts. You do not need to silence your mind. You need to stop obeying every impulse it produces. Happiness begins when you stop letting your inner noise dictate your behavior and your emotional state. People who appear calm are often misunderstood. They are not unaffected by difficulty. They feel pain like everyone else. The difference is that they do not allow their internal reactions to escalate into suffering. They have learned that peace is not found by removing all problems, but by reducing unnecessary mental resistance. Life still challenges them, but it no longer destabilizes them. Clarity replaces panic. Stability replaces chaos. Energy is conserved instead of wasted on mental struggle. This chapter is the foundation of everything that follows. Before you can control emotions, before you can accept reality, and before you can build inner stability, you must understand this truth clearly. Your unhappiness is not proof that life is broken. It is a signal that your mind needs training. And once you recognize that, real change becomes possible. In the next chapter, you will learn how to create distance between yourself and your thoughts, so they no longer control your emotions, your decisions, or your peace. Chapter 2. You are not your thoughts. Stop letting them control you. Most people believe they are their thoughts. When a thought appears, they assume it is true. When it feels convincing, they follow it. When it creates fear or anxiety, they surrender to it. This is one of the most damaging misunderstandings about the human mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. Thoughts are not commands. They are mental events, temporary signals moving through awareness. Yet without training, the mind does not make that distinction. It identifies with every thought it produces, and in doing so, gives away control. This is how the mind becomes the master instead of the tool. Think about how often your thoughts pull you away from the present moment. You replay conversations that already ended. You imagine futures that have not arrived. You criticize yourself for mistakes no one else remembers. You worry about outcomes you cannot control. None of this is happening now, yet your body reacts as if it is. Your heart rate changes, your muscles tighten, your mood shifts, all because of thoughts. The mind has a powerful ability to create entire emotional realities without anything actually happening. And if you believe every thought, you live inside those imagined realities as if they are real. This is why control begins with separation. The moment you realize that a thought is something you have, not something you are, everything changes. A thought loses authority when it is seen clearly. A thought that says you are not good enough loses power when you recognize it as habit, not truth. A thought that predicts failure weakens when you see it as fear speaking. A thought that says you cannot handle something softens when you stop identifying with it. The problem is not that these thoughts appear. The problem is that you obey them. An untrained mind treats thoughts like orders. A trained mind treats them like information. sometimes useful, often irrelevant. You do not need to fight your thoughts. You do not need to replace them with positive ones. You need to observe them without attachment. Observation creates distance. Distance creates choice. When a thought arises, pause and notice it. Label it gently. This is a memory. This is fear. This is prediction. That simple act breaks the automatic reaction. Most people think control means forcing the mind to be quiet. That is impossible. The mind generates thoughts naturally. Trying to silence it only creates more tension. Control does not mean silence, it means authority. You don't stop the mind from speaking, you stop letting it decide how you feel and act. This shift is subtle, but it is where freedom begins. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, emotions change as well. Emotions are often reactions to thoughts, not to reality itself. When a thought loses credibility, the emotion attached to it loses intensity. Fear becomes manageable. Anxiety loosens its grip. Anger passes more quickly, not because you suppressed these emotions, but because you stopped feeding them belief. This is how calm is built. Thoughts still come and go, but they no longer dominate your inner world. They become background noise instead of commands. At first, this practice will feel difficult. You will still get pulled into thinking. That is normal. Mental training is not about never reacting. It is about noticing sooner and recovering faster. Each time you recognize a thought as a thought, you strengthen control. Each time you step back instead of reacting, you reclaim authority. Progress is not measured by how few thoughts you have. It is measured by how little power they hold. Over time, clarity replaces confusion, presence replaces rumination, and happiness begins to return, not as excitement, but as quiet steadiness. Not because life changed, but because your relationship with your mind did. This is the second foundation of mental control. You are not your thoughts. And once you stop letting them control you, you open the door to a calmer, more stable way of living. In the next chapter, we will explore emotional control, how to feel deeply without being driven by emotion, and how real happiness is built on emotional regulation rather than emotional escape. Chapter 3. Emotional control is the foundation of real happiness. Most people believe happiness means feeling good as often as possible. They chase comfort, excitement, and relief, hoping that positive emotions will last longer and negative ones will disappear faster. But this misunderstanding keeps them trapped. Real happiness is not the absence of negative emotions. It is the ability to remain steady while emotions move through you. Emotions are not the problem. Lack of control is. An untrained mind is ruled by emotion. When something feels good, it clings. When something feels bad, it resists. This constant swinging creates instability, and instability destroys peace. You feel happy when things go your way. You feel frustrated when they don't. You feel calm when life is quiet. You feel overwhelmed when pressure appears. If your emotional state rises and falls with circumstances, happiness will always be fragile. Emotions are signals, not leaders. They inform you, but they are not meant to decide how you act. When emotions are allowed to take control, they distort perception. Anger narrows vision. Fear exaggerates danger. Sadness drains energy. Anxiety rushes decisions. Under emotional control, people say things they regret, make choices they later question, and react in ways that create more problems than the original situation. This is why emotional discipline is essential. Emotional control does not mean suppressing what you feel. Suppression creates tension and eventually leads to emotional explosion. Control means allowing emotions to exist without letting them dictate behavior. There is a critical difference between feeling an emotion and becoming it. You can feel anger without acting angrily. You can feel fear without running from it. You can feel sadness without collapsing into it. An untrained mind merges with emotion instantly. A trained mind observes emotion with awareness. When an emotion arises, the untrained mind reacts automatically. It justifies the feeling, feeds it with thoughts, and acts on it. The emotion grows stronger because it is being reinforced. A trained mind pauses. That pause creates space between feeling and action. In that space, clarity becomes possible. You notice the emotion, you acknowledge it, and you choose how to respond. This pause is the skill that separates emotional adults from emotional children. Most people believe emotions control them. In reality, emotions gain control only when they are not understood. Emotions rise. Emotions peak. Emotions fall. They are temporary by nature. What keeps them alive is resistance or indulgence. Fighting an emotion gives it energy. Obsessing over it gives it power. Acting on it gives it consequences. But observing it calmly allows it to pass. When you stop feeding emotions with stories and reactions, they lose momentum. Anger dissolves faster. Anxiety softens. Sadness becomes lighter. This is not emotional numbness. This is emotional intelligence. A calm person is not someone who feels nothing. It is someone who feels without being overwhelmed. This is why emotional control is the foundation of happiness. Without it, happiness depends on mood, and moods change constantly. With emotional control, happiness becomes stability. You stop fearing emotions. You stop trying to escape discomfort. You trust yourself to handle what you feel without losing direction. Life still brings challenges. Emotions still arise, but they no longer knock you off balance. You remain grounded. This control is built through practice, not force. Each time you pause before reacting, you strengthen it. Each time you choose clarity over impulse, you reinforce it. Over time, something shifts inside you. Emotions become information instead of commands. Reactions become choices instead of habits. And peace becomes a natural state instead of a rare moment. This is where real happiness begins. Not in chasing pleasure, not in avoiding pain, but in mastering your emotional responses. In the next chapter, you will learn why fighting reality creates unnecessary suffering and how acceptance becomes one of the strongest forms of mental power. Chapter 4. Stop fighting reality. Acceptance is mental strength. Most suffering does not come from what happens. It comes from arguing with what has already happened. People waste enormous mental energy wishing reality were different. They replay events, resist outcomes, and fight circumstances they cannot change. And while this resistance feels justified, it quietly destroys inner peace. Reality does not respond to resistance. It does not negotiate. It does not explain itself. When you fight reality, you lose every time. Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word and assume it means weakness, passivity, or giving up. It does not. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is clarity. It is the decision to stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed so that strength can be directed toward what can. An untrained mind reacts to difficulty by resisting it. It says, "This shouldn't be happening." It asks, "Why me?" It compares the present moment to an imagined version of how things should be. That resistance creates tension. Tension creates frustration. Frustration turns pain into suffering. The situation itself may be hard, but the mental refusal to accept it makes it unbearable. A trained mind responds differently. It recognizes reality as it is, not as it wishes it to be. It understands that acceptance is not approval, it is acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is the first step toward control. You cannot control what you refuse to see clearly. Acceptance begins with honesty. This is happening. This is uncomfortable. This is not what I wanted. But it is real. The moment you stop arguing with reality, something shifts. The mind stops fighting. the nervous system begins to calm. Energy that was tied up in resistance becomes available again. This is mental strength. Strong people are not those who deny reality. They are those who face it without collapsing. They do not waste time wishing the past were different. They do not build their identity around resentment. They do not demand that life follow their preferences. They adapt. Adaptation is not weakness, it is intelligence. When you accept reality, you regain choice. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. You move from victimhood to agency. Pain still exists. Difficulty still exists. But suffering decreases dramatically. This is why acceptance feels powerful once practiced. It removes the internal conflict that drains peace. It allows you to meet life as it is, instead of exhausting yourself fighting an illusion. Most people believe acceptance means settling for less. In truth, resistance is what keeps them stuck. They remain emotionally trapped in moments that have already passed. Acceptance releases you forward. It allows you to say, "This is where I am. Now what?" That question is where growth begins. Acceptance also teaches humility. It reminds you that not everything is under your control, and that is not a flaw. It is reality. When you stop trying to control what cannot be controlled, your mind becomes lighter. You focus on effort instead of outcome. You focus on response instead of reaction. You focus on action instead of complaint. This shift alone creates calm. A mind that accepts reality does not panic as easily. It does not catastrophize every obstacle. It understands that difficulty is temporary, and resistance only makes it heavier. Acceptance does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop wasting energy. You stop fighting facts. You stop arguing with time. You stop expecting life to be fair before you allow yourself peace. And in that letting go, strength appears. This chapter is about choosing clarity over resistance. It is about recognizing that peace is not found by controlling life, but by aligning your mind with what is real. When you accept reality, you stop breaking yourself against it. You stand firmly within it. In the next chapter, you will learn how to detach from what you cannot control, and how that detachment becomes one of the most freeing mental disciplines you can develop. Chapter 5. Detach from what you can't control. One of the greatest sources of mental exhaustion is trying to control what was never yours to control. Other people's opinions, other people's actions, outcomes that depend on countless variables, the past, the future. An untrained mind becomes attached to all of it. It worries about how it is perceived. It obsesses over results it cannot guarantee. It replays what cannot be undone. It fears what has not happened. And in doing so, it gives away peace. Detachment is not indifference. It is clarity about responsibility. Detachment means understanding the boundary between what belongs to you and what does not. What belongs to you is limited, but powerful. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your effort, your values. Everything else is influence, not control. An untrained mind ignores this boundary. It tries to manage outcomes instead of actions. It tries to change people instead of adjusting expectations. It tries to secure certainty in an uncertain world. That effort never succeeds. It only creates anxiety. A trained mind detaches. It focuses fully on what it can control and releases what it cannot. This release is not passive. It is intentional. It is the decision to stop spending energy where it has no authority. Detachment begins with acceptance of limitation. You cannot force people to understand you. You cannot guarantee results. You cannot control timing. You cannot eliminate uncertainty. But you can choose how you respond to all of it. When you detach from outcomes, pressure decreases. You act with clarity instead of desperation. You do your best without being emotionally chained to the result. This is where real confidence comes from. People who are detached from outcomes perform better, not worse. Their focus is cleaner, their actions are calmer, their decisions are not rushed by fear of failure. Attachment creates tension. Detachment creates freedom. Most stress comes from emotional attachment to things outside your control. When those things don't go as planned, the mind reacts with frustration, self-doubt, or anger. Detachment breaks that cycle. You stop asking, "What if this doesn't work?" You start asking, "What is the right action right now?" You stop measuring your worth by outcomes. You start measuring it by integrity and effort. This shift stabilizes the mind. Detachment also changes how you deal with people. You stop needing approval. You stop reacting to criticism. You stop trying to manage how others feel about you. Not because you don't care, but because you understand where your responsibility ends. You can act respectfully. You can speak honestly. You can set boundaries. But you cannot control how others respond. When you detach from that need, interactions become lighter. Conflict loses its grip. You stay grounded even when others are emotional. This is strength. Detachment does not make you cold. It makes you resilient. You remain engaged without being consumed. You remain committed without being attached. You remain focused without being fragile. Life becomes easier to navigate. Not because it changed, but because your mind stopped fighting what it cannot command. This chapter teaches one essential discipline. Conserve your energy. Spend it where it matters. Withdraw it where it doesn't. Control what is yours. Release what is not. When you do that consistently, mental clarity replaces anxiety, stability replaces tension, and happiness becomes less dependent on circumstances and more rooted in self-control. In the next chapter, you will learn how to build inner stability so that even when life feels unpredictable, your mind remains steady and grounded. Chapter 6. Build inner stability. When life feels unstable. When life feels unpredictable, most people look for stability outside themselves. They search for certainty in plans, routines, relationships, or outcomes. And when those external structures fail, as they inevitably do, their sense of balance collapses with them. This is why so many people feel calm only when life is calm. But real stability does not come from controlling the environment. It comes from building something solid inside. Inner stability is the ability to remain grounded even when circumstances shift. It is the quiet confidence that you can handle what appears without panic or collapse. An untrained mind depends on external order to feel safe. When routines break, when expectations are disrupted, or when uncertainty appears, the mind becomes reactive. Anxiety rises, frustration grows, emotional balance disappears. A trained mind responds differently. It does not require life to be predictable in order to remain steady. It has learned how to create structure internally. Inner stability is built through consistency, not intensity. It comes from small, repeatable practices that anchor the mind. Daily habits, simple rituals, moments of stillness. These are not dramatic, but they are powerful. When the outer world feels chaotic, inner structure becomes essential. One of the most important elements of inner stability is routine. A simple routine signals safety to the mind. It reduces decision fatigue. It creates rhythm in a world that often feels scattered. This does not mean rigid control. It means reliability, waking up at a consistent time, moving your body regularly, creating moments of silence, returning to basic disciplines. These practices may seem ordinary, but they ground the nervous system. They remind the mind that not everything is uncertain. Another pillar of inner stability is self-trust. When you trust yourself to handle discomfort, uncertainty loses its threat. You no longer need to predict every outcome or prepare for every possibility. You know that you can adapt. Self-trust is built by keeping small promises to yourself. by doing what you say you will do, by acting with integrity even when no one is watching. Each act of discipline strengthens your internal foundation. Inner stability also grows through reflection. A mind that never pauses becomes scattered. Taking time to reflect allows you to process experiences instead of carrying them unconsciously. This reflection does not require analysis or judgment. It requires honesty. What did I react to today? Where did I lose control? What did I handle well? These questions build awareness, and awareness builds stability. When you know yourself, fewer things shake you. A stable inner world does not mean a life without emotion. It means emotions no longer define your direction. You feel what you feel, but you remain rooted. This is why people with inner stability appear calm under pressure. They are not detached from reality. They are anchored within it. Life will still change. Plans will still fail. Uncertainty will still appear. But when your inner world is stable, these changes no longer feel like threats. You adapt instead of panic. You respond instead of react. You move forward instead of freezing. This stability creates a quiet form of happiness. Not excitement, not constant comfort, but a sense of being okay, even when things are unclear. That feeling is powerful. It allows you to live without constantly bracing yourself for impact. It allows you to meet life openly instead of defensively. Inner stability is not built overnight. It is built through daily commitment to self-control, discipline, and awareness. And once it is built, it becomes your strongest asset. In the next chapter, you will learn why happiness is not a feeling you wait for, but a skill you train through deliberate choices and consistent action. Inner stability deepens when you stop relying on emotional certainty. Many people feel safe only when they know what will happen next. They need guarantees. They need reassurance. They need plans to unfold exactly as expected. But life does not offer guarantees. When your sense of stability depends on certainty, anxiety becomes constant. The mind stays alert, always preparing for disruption. And preparation slowly turns into tension. A stable inner world is built by learning to tolerate uncertainty without panic. This tolerance is not passive. It is trained. Each time you face uncertainty without trying to immediately resolve it, you strengthen your nervous system. You teach your mind that discomfort is survivable. Stability grows when you stop demanding answers before acting. Many people delay action because they want clarity first. They want to feel confident before moving forward, but confidence rarely comes before action. It is built through action. A stable mind understands this. It moves with incomplete information. It accepts imperfection. It takes the next responsible step without needing certainty about the outcome. This approach reduces mental pressure. You stop carrying the impossible burden of predicting the future. You focus on presence instead of projection. Another element of inner stability is emotional containment. This means learning how to hold emotions without expressing them impulsively or suppressing them completely. When emotions rise, most people either explode or shut down. Both responses weaken stability. Containment is different. It is the ability to feel emotion fully while remaining composed. You acknowledge what you feel without acting on it immediately. You give the emotion space without giving it control. This skill builds confidence in your own resilience. When you know that emotions will not overwhelm you, fear loses its grip. Anxiety softens because you no longer see emotion as dangerous. Inner stability also grows through simplicity. A cluttered life creates a cluttered mind. Too many commitments, too much stimulation, and constant noise drain mental energy. Simplifying your environment simplifies your inner world. Fewer distractions allow deeper focus. Fewer commitments allow clearer priorities. Fewer expectations allow more peace. Stability is supported by subtraction as much as addition. Over time, these practices create a shift. You stop being shaken by small disruptions. You stop interpreting change as threat. You stop needing life to feel safe before you feel calm. Summer calm becomes internal, and when calm is internal, happiness becomes resilient. This is the kind of stability that cannot be taken from you because it was never dependent on the outside in the first place. Chapter 7. Happiness is a skill, not a mood. Most people wait for happiness. They wait for the right moment. They wait for problems to disappear. They wait until they feel motivated, inspired, or calm. And while they wait, life passes. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings about happiness. Happiness is not something you fall into. It is something you practice. A mood is temporary. A skill is trained. If happiness were only a mood, it would always depend on circumstances. Some days would feel good. Some days would feel unbearable. And your sense of well-being would rise and fall with whatever happens around you. This is how most people live. They feel happy when things go their way. They feel unhappy when they don't. They believe this is normal. It doesn't have to be. A trained mind understands that happiness is the result of repeated choices, not fleeting feelings. It is built through discipline, awareness, and consistent response to life's challenges. You don't wait to feel happy in order to live well. You live well, and happiness follows. This reverses the pattern most people are trapped in. An untrained mind says, "When I feel better, I'll act better." A trained mind says, "I'll act better, even when I don't feel like it." That difference changes everything. When you act with clarity instead of emotion, you build trust in yourself. When you keep moving forward despite discomfort, you develop confidence. When you stay disciplined during difficult moments, your mind becomes stronger. Happiness grows from that strength. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means not allowing emotions to dictate your behavior. Feelings change quickly. Values do not. A skilled mind anchors itself in values. What kind of person do you choose to be when life is hard? Do you choose calm or chaos? Responsibility or avoidance? Clarity or impulse? Each choice is small. Each choice seems insignificant. But repeated daily, they shape your inner state. Happiness is built in ordinary moments. In how you speak to yourself when you fail. In how you respond when things don't go as planned. In how you treat others when you are under pressure. These moments train the mind. A person who practices happiness does not chase pleasure. They focus on alignment. They act in ways that respect their own values, even when emotions resist. Over time, this creates stability. You stop being emotionally dependent on external validation. You stop waiting for permission to feel okay. You stop needing life to be perfect before you allow yourself peace. This is why happiness as a skill is reliable. It doesn't disappear on bad days. It doesn't collapse under stress. It doesn't require constant excitement. It shows up as steadiness, as resilience, as quiet confidence. A skilled mind understands that discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Each time you avoid discomfort, you weaken your ability to handle it. Each time you face it with composure, you strengthen yourself. This is training, and like any training, it requires repetition. Some days you will forget. Some days you will react emotionally. Some days you will feel overwhelmed. That does not mean you failed. It means you are human. The skill is not never falling. The skill is recovering faster. Each time you return to clarity, you reinforce happiness. Each time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen your inner state. Eventually, happiness stops feeling fragile. It becomes something you can access even on difficult days. Not because those days feel good, but because you trust yourself to handle them. That trust is happiness. In the next chapter, we will bring everything together. How choosing calm, clarity, and self-respect each day becomes the most powerful decision you can make for your life. When happiness is treated as a skill, daily life becomes the training ground. Every ordinary moment becomes an opportunity to practice how you respond to frustration, how you speak to yourself after mistakes, how you handle boredom, delay, or disappointment. These moments are not distractions from happiness. They are where happiness is built. A skilled mind does not wait for ideal conditions to feel okay. It practices calm in traffic. It practices patience in conversation. It practices clarity during stress. This is how happiness becomes durable. One of the most important aspects of happiness as a skill is consistency. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. A disciplined approach to mental habits ensures that happiness does not disappear when motivation fades. You may not feel like choosing calm. You may not feel like responding thoughtfully. You may not feel like staying grounded, but you do it anyway. And each time you do, you reinforce the skill. This is why happiness grows quietly. You often don't notice it forming. You simply realize one day that situations that once overwhelmed you no longer do. You recover faster, you react less, you trust yourself more. Another key component of trained happiness is self-respect. Happiness fades quickly when you repeatedly betray your own values. When you act against what you know is right, inner conflict builds, and inner conflict erodes peace. A skilled mind aligns behavior with values, even when it is uncomfortable. This alignment creates coherence, and coherence creates calm. You may still feel discomfort, but you no longer feel divided. That unity strengthens happiness. Happiness as a skill also requires restraint. Not every impulse deserves expression. Not every desire needs to be satisfied. Restraint preserves energy and direction. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to stability. This restraint is not restrictive. It is freeing. You stop being pulled in every direction. You stop reacting to every stimulus. You regain ownership of your attention. And attention is the foundation of happiness. Where attention goes, emotion follows. A trained mind chooses where to place attention deliberately. It does not allow constant comparison, rumination, or negativity to dominate awareness. This choice is repeated daily. Some days it feels easy. Some days it feels difficult. But over time, happiness stops being something you chase. It becomes something you maintain. Not because life became easier, but because your mind became stronger. This is the reward of training. Happiness becomes quieter, deeper, more stable, less dependent on circumstance and more rooted in self-control. And once happiness reaches that level, it no longer leaves easily. It stays with you through effort, discomfort, and change. Because it is no longer a mood, it is a skill you carry with you. Chapter 8. Choose calm, choose clarity, choose yourself. Every day, you are making a choice, whether you realize it or not. Not a dramatic choice, not a life-changing decision announced out loud, but a quiet, internal decision that shapes how you experience everything. You choose how you respond. You choose what you give your attention to. You choose whether you abandon yourself or stand with yourself when things get hard. Most people believe life forces them into emotional reactions. They believe stress, pressure, and difficulty cause them to feel anxious, angry, or overwhelmed. That is not true. Life presents conditions. Your mind decides how to meet them. This final chapter is about reclaiming that decision. Choosing calm does not mean choosing comfort. It means choosing stability over chaos. It means refusing to let every external event invade your inner world. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control. A calm mind sees clearly. It does not rush to judgment. It does not panic at uncertainty. It does not confuse urgency with importance. When you choose calm, you create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, clarity appears. Clarity is the ability to see what matters and ignore what doesn't. An untrained mind treats everything as urgent. Every message, every opinion, every emotion demands immediate attention. This constant urgency fragments focus and drains energy. A trained mind is selective. It does not react to everything. It does not chase every thought. It does not engage in every internal argument. Clarity allows you to ask a simple question in every situation. What is the most grounded response right now? That question alone changes behavior. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intentionally. Instead of escalating conflict, you de-escalate. Instead of feeding anxiety, you redirect attention. This is not avoidance. This is self-respect. Choosing yourself does not mean becoming selfish. It means refusing to sacrifice your mental health for approval, validation, or temporary comfort. Most people abandon themselves daily. They say yes when they mean no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They ignore exhaustion and push until they burn out. They listen to their inner critic as if it were truth. Each time they do this, happiness erodes. Choosing yourself means honoring your internal boundaries. It means listening to what your mind and body are telling you without dramatizing or dismissing it. It means recognizing when to rest, when to speak up, and when to step back. This choice is not made once. It is made repeatedly. In moments of pressure, in moments of temptation, in moments when old habits pull you toward reaction instead of response. Choosing yourself often feels uncomfortable at first. It may mean disappointing others. It may mean sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it. It may mean acting against impulse. But discomfort fades. Self-respect remains. When you consistently choose calm, clarity, and self-respect, something profound happens. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is constantly affected by life. You begin to see yourself as someone who meets life with composure. This shift changes how you experience difficulty. Problems still arise, challenges still appear, emotions still surface, but they no longer define you. You stop asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" You start asking, "How do I want to handle this?" That question puts you back in control. Control does not mean forcing outcomes. It means directing effort. You cannot control results. You can control how you show up. A controlled mind does not demand that life be easy before it allows peace. It carries peace into difficulty. This is the deepest form of happiness. Not excitement, not constant positivity, but grounded presence. Presence allows you to experience life fully without being consumed by it. You are engaged, but not overwhelmed. Aware, but not anxious. This presence comes from practice, from pausing before reacting, from questioning thoughts before believing them, from regulating emotions instead of suppressing them, from accepting reality instead of resisting it, from detaching from what you cannot control, from building inner stability through discipline, from treating happiness as a skill, not a feeling. Each chapter of this audiobook has built toward this moment, not to give you more information, but to change how you relate to your own mind. Because your mind is where everything begins. Every decision, every emotion, every experience of happiness or suffering. When you control your mind, you stop outsourcing your well-being to circumstances. You stop waiting for permission to feel okay. You realize that happiness is not something life gives you. It is something you cultivate. This does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means you become capable of staying steady in chaos, capable of remaining calm under pressure, capable of choosing clarity when emotions rise, capable of standing with yourself instead of turning against yourself. This capability creates confidence. Confidence creates peace. Peace creates happiness. Not fragile happiness, not conditional happiness, but durable happiness. the kind that stays with you through change, loss, effort, and uncertainty. The kind that does not depend on perfect conditions, the kind that comes from within. From this point forward, the work is simple, but not always easy. When life challenges you, pause. When emotions rise, observe. When thoughts spiral, step back. When pressure builds, choose calm. When confusion appears, choose clarity. When tempted to abandon yourself, choose yourself. Again and again, this is the path, not to control life, but to master your response to it. And when you do, something quietly powerful becomes true. Life may still be hard, but it no longer controls you. You do. Choosing yourself is not a single breakthrough moment. It is not a dramatic decision you make once and never revisit. It is a daily discipline, often quiet, often unnoticed, and often uncomfortable. Most people think self-control means pushing harder. In reality, it often means slowing down. It means noticing when your mind is rushing toward reaction and deliberately choosing restraint instead. Restraint is not weakness. Restraint is strength with direction. A mind that reacts to everything is easily controlled by anything. A mind that can pause holds power. When pressure rises, the instinct is to escape, to distract yourself, to numb, to lash out, or to overthink. These reactions feel relieving in the moment, but they leave you weaker afterward. Calm asks something different from you. Calm asks you to stay with discomfort without dramatizing it, to stay with uncertainty without demanding answers, to stay with emotion without letting it decide your behavior. Each time you stay, you reinforce self-trust. And self-trust is the backbone of happiness. You begin to believe at a deep level that you can handle what life brings, not because you control outcomes, but because you control your responses. Clarity grows from this trust. When the mind is no longer busy defending itself, explaining itself, or escaping discomfort, it sees more clearly. Problems become simpler. Decisions become cleaner. You stop turning every challenge into a personal crisis. Clarity allows you to distinguish between what matters and what merely makes noise. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every emotion deserves action. Not every situation deserves your energy. A clear mind chooses carefully. This choice protects your inner world. It prevents emotional exhaustion. It keeps you aligned with your values, even when life pressures you to abandon them. Choosing yourself also means redefining success. Success is not constant happiness. Success is consistency of character. It is staying grounded when things are uncertain. It is acting with integrity when emotions fluctuate. It is remaining calm when chaos invites reaction. This kind of success is internal and therefore stable. Most people measure their well-being by how they feel in the moment. A trained mind measures well-being by how well it stayed aligned under pressure. This shift changes how you experience difficulty. Difficulty becomes a test, not a threat. Emotion becomes information, not identity. Stress becomes a signal to slow down, not a command to panic. Over time, these responses reshape your nervous system. You stop living in constant alert. You stop bracing for impact. Your baseline state becomes steadier. This is when happiness deepens. It becomes quieter, less reactive, more resilient. You still experience joy. You still feel sadness. You still encounter frustration. But none of these states dominate you for long. You return to center faster. That return is the real skill. Life does not reward perfection, it rewards adaptability. A mind that can return to calm after disruption is far more powerful than one that never feels disturbed. This is why self-mastery is not about eliminating emotion. It is about shortening recovery time. You notice sooner. You pause faster. You choose more wisely. These small improvements compound. Weeks pass, months pass. And one day you realize something has changed. You're less reactive, less anxious, less controlled by circumstances, not because life became easier, but because you became steadier. This steadiness allows you to engage fully with life. You're no longer guarding yourself constantly. You're no longer consumed by internal struggle. You have space to think, to feel, to choose. That space is freedom. And freedom is the soil where happiness grows. Not the happiness of excitement or escape, but the happiness of being grounded in yourself. Choosing calm, choosing clarity, choosing yourself, again and again, creates a life that feels internally coherent. You're no longer at war with your own mind. You become someone you can rely on. And when you can rely on yourself, life loses its power to destabilize you. That is the quiet victory this audiobook has been leading you toward. Not control over life, but mastery over your inner world. If there is one truth to take with you from this audiobook, it is this. Life does not become easier when you gain control of your mind. You become stronger, and that strength changes everything. Throughout this journey, you have not been asked to deny reality, suppress emotion, or pretend that life is gentle. You have been asked to do something far more powerful, to take responsibility for your inner world. Because the quality of your life is shaped less by what happens to you and more by how your mind responds to what happens. You cannot control uncertainty. You cannot control loss. You cannot control other people. But you can control your attention. You can control your response. You can control the meaning you attach to experience. That is where freedom lives. Most suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by resistance, overthinking, and emotional reactivity. When the mind is untrained, it fights reality, believes every thought, obeys every impulse, and turns discomfort into ongoing distress. But a trained mind does something different. It pauses, it observes, it chooses. That pause is the doorway to calm. Calm is not the absence of problems. It is the absence of internal chaos. It is what remains when you stop arguing with reality and stop letting your thoughts and emotions dictate your direction. A calm mind sees clearly. A calm mind acts deliberately. A calm mind does not collapse under pressure. This is why calm is not weakness. It is mastery. As you learned, you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are temporary. They arise, they pass, and they often exaggerate danger. When you stop identifying with them, their power weakens. You also learned that emotions are signals, not leaders. Feeling deeply does not require reacting impulsively. Emotional control allows you to experience life fully without being driven by it. Acceptance showed you how to stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed. Detachment taught you how to release what was never under your control. Inner stability gave you a foundation that does not depend on external certainty. And happiness, when treated as a skill rather than a mood, became something you can practice, daily, intentionally, and reliably. All of these principles point to one central truth. Happiness is built from the inside out. It is not given by circumstances. It is cultivated through self-mastery. This does not mean you will never struggle again. It does not mean you will never feel fear, sadness, or frustration. Those experiences are part of being human. What changes is how long you stay lost in them. With training, you recover faster. You react less. You trust yourself more. You stop turning moments into identities and emotions into life stories. You stop assuming that every uncomfortable feeling requires immediate action. You learn to sit with discomfort without being consumed by it. That ability is strength. And strength brings peace. Peace does not mean withdrawal from life. It means engagement without inner conflict. You are present without being overwhelmed. You are involved without being controlled. From that place, happiness becomes quieter but deeper, less dependent on excitement, less fragile, more stable. You begin to experience life as it is, not as your fears predict it to be. The work does not end here. Self-mastery is not a destination. It is a practice, a daily commitment to awareness, discipline, and choice. Some days you will do this well. Some days you will forget. Some days old habits will pull you back into reaction. That does not mean you failed. It means you noticed. And noticing is progress. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you reinforce calm. Each time you question a thought instead of believing it, you build clarity. Each time you choose yourself instead of abandoning your values, you strengthen self-respect. These small moments accumulate. They change how you experience stress. They change how you handle relationships. They change how you see yourself. Eventually, you stop asking life to be easier. You start trusting yourself to be capable. That trust is the deepest form of happiness. It allows you to move forward without constant fear. It allows you to face difficulty without losing your center. It allows you to live without being at war with your own mind. As you return to your life after this audiobook, remember this. You do not need to control life to feel okay. You need to control your response to it. When pressure builds, slow down. When emotions rise, observe. When thoughts spiral, step back. When uncertainty appears, stay grounded. Again and again, this is not about perfection. It is about practice. And with practice, calm becomes familiar, clarity becomes natural, happiness becomes durable. Life may still challenge you, but it no longer defines you, because when you master your inner world, nothing outside can truly take your peace. And that is the kind of happiness worth building.